Good evening, Brawlhalla fans. It's Raidhyn, and I am back with the patch notes for beta version 1.7.2. Now, as all of you know, I was pretty passionate and a little perturbed about some of the changes in the last patch. As you may recall, if you've seen my last video, it is a moment of pure frustration when it came to particularly the air movement. Well, in 1.7.2, all of that has been fixed, and the game is back to its beautiful, silky smooth and speedy state. Now, I wouldn't say that it's back to where it was before. I think that the air movement has still slowed down quite a bit, which is good. I've discovered that the ground game is a lot better than it used to be, and I'm definitely seeing more people use the ground game. But basically, the reason for that is because of all the rebalancing that they did in version 1.7.2. So let's go over the basics. So they did stat rebalancing across the board. They increased the acceleration on both the air and ground, so the speed of the game is pretty much back up to normal. They spread out acceleration gains with more per stat, so once again, faster characters are faster again, as they should be. Not as ridiculously fast and as ridiculously slow as they used to be, but it is noticeable once again. They brought in the range of recovery defense at the high end, which essentially means that people aren't getting knocked out so much when they're like yellow, like was happening a lot in 1.7.0. They slightly decreased the overall maximum speed, which I think is good. I think, I think the slower speed helps you be a little bit more thoughtful with, choosing the correct move for the right situation. They also brought in the defense versus attack spread. So Roland is not as tanky as he used to be, and Scarlet does not do as much damage as she used to in 1.7. So all of these stat rebalances basically put the game into, this is essentially my favorite patch. Like, it went from being my most hated patch to my absolute favorite one. I'll just be straight up honest with it. Like, I think that the state of the game right now, at least as far as as core mechanics are concerned, is great. I still think there are some moves and some weapon sets that need to continue to be slightly adjusted here and there. Guitars and lances, I'm thinking about you, but I think in general the game is in a beautiful, very playable state, and I'm really excited about the tournament that's taking place this Saturday. Is going to be happening on this patch on 1.7.2. Super exciting. But let's go over the rest of the patch notes. There are quite a few things actually for a minor patch. By community request, they have fixed PC support for Nintendo Wii U GameCube controller adapters, so all of you Melee crossover players out there coming over from the Smash community can now use your wonderful GameCube controllers. They've also supported Mayflash GameCube controller in addition to the PDP Afterglow for PS3, and they have added a brand new item skin, Magma Bolt, added for rocket lances. Now, I want to think that this was added and called Magma Bolt because of longtime viewer and Orion player Magma Bob, but I could be wrong. Anyway, they did do a lot of tweaks on the powers themselves. So the Lance Down got reduced damage and stun, which I know some people were worried about, but I haven't seen a... Oh, and slightly increased force on final hits. So essentially the Lance Down is the flaming lance move, the one where they spin it around and it looks like they're setting you on fire. And I think the reason they did this was to prevent automatic combo follow-ups afterwards. So that was the intent there. Blasters air down. They fixed some cases where the target would be pushed out of the combo and added a small cooldown time, so you can't spam it as much, but the combo is a little bit more secure. The guitar quick, they added cooldown time. Sword down added cooldown time. And Roland's sword special increased AoE size to better match animation and increased minimum charge time, decreased force. So the sword special for Roland does come out much faster than it used to. All of Scarlet's new signature moves got slightly decreased force because they were ridiculous. Vraxx's blaster, neutral heavy, they added a small hitbox when swinging pistols upward that combos into the blast with increased damage and force. They also increased the damage on the side heavy. They decreased the minimum charge time and increased the damage on the down heavy as well. And on his Lance Down Heavy, they increased the AoE size to better match animation with increased hit window. So basically, Scarlet's signatures got super nerfed. Vraxx's signatures got buffed because Vraxx's signatures initially were doing incredibly pathetic damage. And yeah, So more balances, and I mean, I'm sure they're going to continue to balance as we go along, but it's good to see that they're focusing on some of these issues and kind of attacking the obvious things right away. Gameplay. You can no longer accidentally pick up items right as they're spawning in to fix the whole when did I pick up an item thing. There is one exception for this. I think that this currently needs to be removed from the Valkyria horns, because I've noticed while playing on this patch, if you summon a Valkyria horn while you're close to the edge and you attempt to go pick up the weapon, sometimes you'll miss it if you get there too quickly. But that's something that we can talk about later. Players now spawn on opposite sides of the map at the beginning of 1v1 matches and during 1v1 tiebreakers. They changed the path of the large center soft platform on the Enigma, so there's no longer a gap between it and the left block during the first transition, which fixes an issue where a Valkyrie could spawn a player in that gap during the transition, and that player would fall haplessly to their death. Seems like a good bug to fix. With the UI, the returning to the character selection screen after choosing the random option will no longer result in an invisible player character, and friends with no usernames are sent to the end of the list. Interesting. Not really sure what that means. Let's see. Performance. They disabled background animations and login until they can get memory under control. Maybe this memory leak or memory problem is what's messing with my Steam overlay. That's neither here nor there. And then they fixed a plethora of bugs, all of which I'm not going to read. So yeah, to sum this up, basically 1.7.2 I think brings the game back into its beautiful speedy state of just not necessarily where speed is king anymore, but where you can move with better ease. It's still not nearly as fast as it used to be. It's not nearly as floaty as it used to be. You don't have as much range of movement as you did in, say, 1.6 and prior, but it's back at a point where it feels comfortable while also being much more limited than before. So it's still easier to edge guard, but it's not impossible to recover the way that it was initially. And in general, the game feels right once again. And for me, like, the way that a game feels is, especially a fighting game, is incredibly important. And I think that this patch has really gotten the game back to that wonderful state. And I'm really excited to see where it's going to go and continue to progress from here, because as you all know, I think that the devs who are working on this game have just been phenomenal with all of the constant changes and updates, and their willingness to listen to the community and absorb player feedback and make really good decisions about the design of the game that, you know, a lot of us as non-game designers would completely overlook. You know, like, this whole air movement thing was originally, the aim was to improve the ground game, and I think that the ground game has been vastly improved. I think it's something that people are relying on more. I think some players, their style hasn't quite adapted yet, but all in all, I think 1.7.2 is a great patch. I'm really excited to be playing on it. I've even been grinding out quite a bit of ranked recently, where I have climbed to the rank 2 spot. You can check that out, because also during this patch they've also released a public leaderboards that you can find at brawlhalla.com/rankings. So if you have not yet checked that out, you should totally do so. But for now, that is it for the patch notes. In the near future, what I am planning to do is create an additional video every time a new patch comes out to talk about how the meta has changed and what some of the new strategies are looking like, and, you know, possible tier lists and things like that, because I get asked those questions quite a bit, and I thought it might be interesting to condense down some of the answers into kind of a, you know, bi-weekly or monthly state of the game type video. So if that's something you want to see or would be interested in, just let me know in the comments below. But for now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time for more Brawlhalla.